And I'm joined by Rocco Dean,
Hello.
Dara Cunningham,
Hello there.
and Isaac Johnson from Leeds Live.
Hello, everybody from Germany.
You're welcome as always. And before we get into it, special thanks to Bass and Bly, sponsor the podcast, based in Harrogate on 6 Beulah Street. I've stole Dara and Rocco's line there. Premium independent. Sorry, I've got some feedback in the background. Special thanks to Bass and Bly, premium independent photographic dealership with 60 years of history, specialists in cameras, binoculars and spotting scopes. They stock top brands, Canon, Fujifilm, Nikon, Sony, Rocco. Who else?
Pentax, Leica, Zeiss.
Correct. Yeah, they sell loads of used gear as well, and binoculars, lenses, all sorts of stuff, extensions, lens extender.
Don't forget the monoculars, like in Commando.
Yeah, your favourite. And it's £10 off when you spend £100 or more. There's a little voucher pop up on the website. So just sign up with your email address and get £10 off. So it's www.bassandbly.com or 6 Beulah Street in Harrogate. So Isaac, the question on everyone's lips that we want to start with, as a professional journalist, do you find it funny that I've been in Arswinkle in Germany?
Maybe a bit. I've not really thought of that, to be honest. To be honest, we're not actually in direct centre where Arswinkle is. We're actually in. I think it's safe to say we're all right saying it now because we weren't allowed to before. But we're in Guttersloh, which most people probably already know. It's the same place as they were last year.
Right.
As far as I'm aware, I think the players have already flown back now. And so, if most of all the other journalists as well. So I think it's just me and another at the moment. We're just sort of waiting to go back now. But it's we have seen a few funny things here actually, but that's for another time.
Another time, or in like 5 minutes when we keep asking you what those funny things are.
Some things can be broadcastable, and some things can't. So
okay, we'll definitely leave you on at the end.
Was there any fans turn up? Like any fans mingling around? Anyone get the whiff of it and turn up?
Not really, but there were a few people with Leeds fans with Leeds shirts on, but I think they weren't. Well, they obviously are Leeds fans, but I don't think they were from the UK. If you know what I mean, I think they were just from around the area, So no, not really. Put it this way, there definitely wasn't any like groups or swarms or anything like that.
Yeah.
What's it been like out in Germany then? Is it a bit weird, kind of no fans been around and just watching football?
Yeah, well, I wasn't actually going to games when I was in COVID, but everyone who has been reporting during COVID said it was like that. Obviously, there's certain things you sort of hear in the games that you wouldn't normally. For example, the player shouts, the communication, a few expletives when someone treads on someone's foot. Daniel Farker obviously giving directions, and you can hear that dead clearly. So it was weird. Yeah, it definitely was weird. It was good because it reminded me a little bit, not of the quality I must say, but it reminded me of a little bit of my my non-league days in the sense that there wasn't many people there. You could hear all the shouts, you could hear all the messages. It was a bit more of a relaxed atmosphere because obviously there wasn't as much hubbub really. But no, it's been good. It's been interesting. It's been insightful. It's been busy. But yeah, I think a fruitful week overall.
Yeah, that's good. And Paderborn was obviously the latest result, 3-2 to Leeds. It finished up. And does it feel like we're sticking with the 4-3-3? It's difficult because we're not seeing the games as we do in the stadium, and you get a feel for watching the formation more across the full pitch. So I'm finding it quite a challenge not seeing the games. But yeah, does it feel like we're playing 4-3-3? Does it feel like it's working? Does it feel like it's still an experiment?
So what Daniel Farker has said is that he wants to be more flexible this year, basically.
Yeah.
So whether he reverts back to his 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3, only time will tell. But he has played 4-3-3 in all 3 games so far for at least one half, and sometimes a bit longer. Now, is that because Aronson hasn't been here for most of the time and they haven't got another number 10? Possibly. I think that's got to be a little bit of the reason. But also, the manager has said that he will look to be more flexible because at the end of the day, there'll be more challenges next year. So what he told us was last year he had a certain set way, and that set way was working, and so there's no point changing the winning formula. So that's why he was so rigid to his formation last year and didn't change it. Why change it for the sake of it? Fair point. This year, obviously, it won't be the same. He'll have to be a bit more proactive. He'll have to be more sort of like use his initiative a bit more, look at the flow of the game, think about the opposition and all that. Because obviously last year Leeds were favourites going into virtually every game, and next year almost every game they'll be underdogs. So that's a big mentality shift to have to drum into his players. I think for Farke himself, it's not too much because he's obviously done it with Norwich before. He's gone up having won the league and then having to be on the back foot when he got in the Premier League. But in terms of the formation, it is something that we've seen quite regularly here, and I'll be honest, there has been a few teething problems, but I won't get overly concerned by that really, because it's early days. You've got a load of new folks who are coming in, loads of new players who have to adapt, just all of that really, and also you've got loads of substitutions, you've got loads of people slotting into different places and little tryouts. So basically this week was about tryouts and getting the runs, getting the minutes in the legs, getting the run outs, and next week onwards basically is when you'll probably start seeing a bit more structure in terms of what we might see going forward into the new season, I think.
It's quite funny because last pre-season, he said the same. Like, we were playing three at the back, and I remember him saying, like, explaining why last season we'd had to be quite rigid with things. He didn't want to overcomplicate it for the players at that point. And then, this season we're seeing again a change of formation, and we'll see if he is. I imagine him to be more flexible this season. It makes sense. What's
been interesting as well is that obviously he'll play the three, and what will happen is one of them, either Tanaka or whoever the left-sided midfielder is, at various points they'll go forward, and the other two will sort of drop back. So they start like that, and then they might go like that if my feed doesn't cut off, or sometimes it will be the other way. So how can I do this now? So one goes forward and the other two stay back, and you know what I mean. So it's a bit more malleable. So it's not like they don't have an attacking player in that three. It's just not centralised really, and it's very fluid actually. So it's not just one person always coming back all the time, apart from if it's like Ampadu, which he does sit. But the other two are very much fluid. Like for example, Stack, which I know we'll get onto. Yesterday he was both dropping back and going forward as well. So there's options.
It's interesting that, because if I was performance managing a pre-season, you would look at your games in blocks, and the first three would be about getting minutes in the legs. I think we saw that particularly with the 60-minute halves in the first match in Germany, which obviously carried on to nearly so many changes then in the second game in Germany, and then the Man United game before that. But as you say, then I think you've got your minutes in the legs now, guys. We're back to Leeds, a bit more pre-season, it's a bit more on structure, and start bedding that down in time for the opener against Everton. Is that fair to say that that's kind of a strategic approach you're taking?
That's essentially what Farke said yesterday. He said, really, I suppose with all pre-season results, it's the same really, but it's not really about the result. It's about everything else really. Whereas obviously in the season, it's the opposite way around. It doesn't matter how you get the result, just get the result. Whereas this, it's vice versa. So yeah, that's spot on. In terms of the structure, it's just about experimentation. Because obviously the opposition, the last two anyway, teams haven't been top quality, although they've played some decent stuff, I will say. But Leeds were expected to win, and they did win. Like I said, a few teething problems, especially on the flanks. The flanks looked a bit, didn't know really what to do, didn't get much of the ball, pressing wasn't fantastic. But that's just because they're just trying to work things out. So again, I won't get too worried about that right now. But yeah, you're right.
Formation discussions are always quite funny, really, aren't they? Because I think with my limited knowledge of it anyway, I would say at kind of a local level, you play 4-3-3 and you play 4-3-3, but it's in professional sport, it transitions into different shapes all the time. So it's way more complicated than that. So I think it's really just about a starting position as opposed to what they end up actually doing in a game state, if you like. So yeah. Lucas Perri, a very big signing in more ways than one. A massive bloke, so I hear. Not obviously tall in stature, but just built like an absolute tank, which I think is what we want. We want someone running and scaring people out of the box, which, I don't think Melior's done much of that. But yeah, excited to get him. Most expensive goalkeeper Leeds have ever signed. I think on the same day, however many years ago, Nigel Martin signed for us as well, who was the most expensive goalkeeper for Leeds at the time as well. So nice little bookend to that, which is good. But yeah, what's the feeling on camp around Lucas Perri joining Leeds United?
Yeah, so his arrival came quicker than I think most people expected at the club. It moved quite fast, really, and to get him in so early. So just to give context, the recruitment team wanted him in before the start of the season, and so did Daniel Farker. But the manager was happy enough if they couldn't get a goalkeeper before, until the final week before the season started, because basically the goalkeeper doesn't need as much tactical input. At the end of the day, he's there to stop shots, and obviously you need to get used to your defenders, but in terms of like tactical nous and all that, you don't need too much input. So he was fine with that. The recruitment team, we know, were a bit more eager to get them in earlier, and they have done. But I think there is a little bit surprised that it came so quickly. But I think that's a testament to the recruitment team, really. But yeah, he is, I would say, a very clear upgrade on Ian Melior for starters, and that's exactly what you need. His XG in terms of save ratio and save percentage is not bad. I think I mentioned on this podcast a few weeks ago that 2 seasons ago when he was in Brazil, he had an XG of 13, which for those of you who don't know, basically it means he kept out 13 goals that should have gone in, or shots that should have been goals, basically, which is incredible, you don't really see that at all. Obviously when it came to Europe, that has lowered a bit. I think last season it was just under 4. Still okay, not bad. Top 6 in League One, in Liga, should I say, in France. And yeah, he is a big chap. He is a big bulky chap. He's got an absolutely humongous throw. He can punch to the halfway line. I would not like to get in his way. Put it that way. Even if I was Joe Rodon, even if I was Pascal Strauch or Jacobillo, I would not want to get in his way. He is a absolute tank. So, yeah, I think probably the one question is how good is he with his feet? I don't know. I haven't seen it first person. I'll be absolutely honest. We'll see about that. But I think with virtually every other aspect of his game, it is a definite upgrade. Although I have seen that a few Lyon fans were slightly critical of him not coming out to collect a cross or two when he needed to. So perhaps that's an area of improvement he needs as well. But to be honest, it's hard to judge him, having not seen him in person so far. But as for physique and what he could bring, very, very exciting and a definite upgrade on what they've got.
Does it sound like he was the number 1 target then? Because there's been talk of a couple of other keepers as well.
Yeah, I think eventually, well, he put it this way: he was always on the radar. He was always on the short list, especially with the situation with Lyon. I don't know if they ever selected well, they obviously did towards the end because they honed in on Perri. But in terms of a long-term first-choice target, I'm not 100% sure that was ever a thing, really. Yeah. Obviously, you had the Torino goalkeeper, who was very much on the list, but he's gone to Napoli now. He was always a bit of an ambitious target, anyway, really. And then you've got Zentner as well from Mainz. He was a bit of a. There wasn't really too much talk about him, although we know he was on the radar. Perri was the one really that you thought would probably have fit nicely and probably was the most attainable given Lyon's financial situation. They're backed up against financial restrictions at the moment. So, yeah, whether he was the actual sort of first choice pro, like sort of over the long term, I don't know. It sounds like it was more sort of a group discussion that went on and then the opportunity opened up and they pounced. But yeah, they've got their man, and that's what counts at this stage.
Sometimes Leeds are quite clever in recruiting keepers. I'm not suggesting this is what happens here, what's happening here, but I seem to recall there was a jewel in the Irish crown called Alan Mabry, who Leeds wanted to come and skipper their youth team. So they brought in his club teammate Nicky Bourne as a goalkeeper, who was never going to quite make it. Not on the football pitch anyway. He did make it in later life with Westlife. But few people know he was a goalkeeper for Leeds. But the reason he was brought over was because he was very good mates with Alan Mabry, and they wanted to keep Mabry happy, and hopefully Mabry would go on and have a great career. And he did go on and have a good career, but obviously not quite as well as we'd like it to be at Leeds. Is there a possibility, and I am just stoking the fire here, that we've brought in a certain Brazilian goalkeeper to try and lure any other Brazilians to the club?
That's a £17 million gamble, though, isn't it? It's like just to bring in someone else.
Well, you know what? Put it this way: we know that the recruitment team, when they're after a Brazilian target, will use the example of Rafinha. And Rafinha in Brazil at the moment is seen as this absolute icon. Obviously, he's a contender for Ballon d'Or potentially, Barcelona, and I believe he is indeed a hero of Igor Paixao, which is what you were hinting at. Yeah,
Who?
so never heard of him, mate.
I was actually talking about Muniz. Who's this Paixao guy?
Yeah. So yeah. In terms of trying to lure Brazilians to Elland Road, we know they use the Rafinha example. So I don't think you're too far off. I don't think that's quite necessarily pinpoint or the accurate, but you're not too far off in the sense that they're using someone of that country to try and get them in.
I assume Leeds have got him on a retainer, where they say, look, we've got this player we want to come in. Can we ring you when we need you? It's probably like £1,000 a phone call, something like. Maybe it's a bit more than that. He'll be expensive, Rafinha now. £5,000 a phone call, maybe. but yeah, before we get onto Paixao, I know everyone wants to get onto that. There's quite a lot of people watching and people in the comments as well. But where do we see things in terms of? Obviously, we want a winger. Paixao is the one that's being talked about a lot. But the striker and then a backup fullback in the market, is that what's been talked about at the minute?
Yeah, so up until yesterday, well, this is the current state of play. So apart from the central midfield, apart from the central defence, and apart from the goalkeeper, which is all now done, that's finished, every other position is open for improvement. So I mean, that's including a backup fullback. Let's just talk about Muniz first. There's still hope that they can land Muniz. They feel that Leeds feel that they've done as much as they can on their side, and the player, from what we've been hearing, has been at least receptive, to what Leeds have put forward. Now, Fulham, obviously, it's in their court. They don't have to sell, and end of the day, they've the ball's in their court. So it might be a case of I think the hope is basically from Leeds' point of view that they'll bring in Fulham will bring in another striker, and that will allow Muniz to go. That's not a guarantee though, but there is, put it this way, the door is definitely not closed on Muniz. So that's the situation with the striker. With other areas of the pitch, let's just go back to the fullback position. Yeah, it's still open for reinforcement. Speaking to other sort of Leeds analysts and journalists, they think that it's probably likely that they'll probably get another fullback in as a sort of guess. Yeah, it's interesting because obviously Isaac Schmidt didn't really play much last season, didn't start a league game last season. We know that the Switzerland head coach has told has told Isaac that,
easy name to forget, in fairness.
Yeah. All these names popping up beginning with I. We know that he's told Schmidt basically, if you get regular minutes next season, you will be in the World Cup squad. So Isaac Schmidt's got a lot of things to think about, really. He knows he's not number one. He is eager to play, and if it wasn't for the World Cup next year, I don't think this would be really much as a forefront decision. But it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for him, and he's 25, and the next time the World Cup comes around, he'll be 29. So he could have another chance, but he's very confident that if he gets regular minutes, he'll be going to the World Cup if Switzerland qualify, of course. So we could see potentially some movement there. Nothing's been decided, and Farke, he's underlined that he very much values Schmidt as part of his squad. But in what capacity that is, we'll have to see. But let me put it back to you. Would you guys feel comfortable if the fullback backup options were Schmidt and Byram going into the season?
Absolutely not. No, no, I wouldn't. And I mean, it just surprises me that it's not been talked about more, to be honest, or it's not been more of a focus, because we seem to have a lot of depth in the other positions.
Because wingers are exciting, Rocco. That's why.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, I guess that's it. But yeah, you couldn't. I mean, when you're talking about replacing Bogle and Goodmanson looks really good. The two top players. It's a huge downgrade for me. Both of them, really.
I'm not so sure.
There's just a question that I've just seen that's come on the chat. Can Jack Harrison play as a fullback backup? Well, interestingly, he was fielded as left back for a stint yesterday. Now that is probably because of Isaac Schmidt being injured, to be honest. But potentially Howard, yeah. Sorry, Darren.
I was going to say I'm not so sure. I mean, anything I've seen of Isaac Schmidt prior to Leeds has been pretty good. And when I've watched him at international level, I think he's been pretty good too. I actually personally would be comfortable enough with him and Byram. I think he could cover either wing, and then Byram could come in if needed. But yeah, I'd be happy enough to give Schmidt a run. I think he's got something about him. I'm not sure he'll get it though. I think what'll end up happening is he'll end up probably sitting on the bench until Christmas and then going loan.
Let me fast forward. So Isaac, Mo Salah bombing down the wing at Sam Byram. That's the worry, isn't it? So we definitely need some more depth there.
To be fair, Howson has played right back for Middlesbrough a lot of last season, so that's another option.
That's very true. Johnny Howson back with the club for the under-21s and coach. Well, it's like a player coaching type of role, but great to see it, because he probably could have gone abroad and earned quite decent money, but yeah, he's come back to Leeds, so which is very good. You mentioned the players in the game, and just wanted to get your thoughts, really, like first impressions on Biol, Goodmanson, Longstaff, and Stack. Obviously, you mentioned earlier as well, but yeah, we just nice to get your thoughts on it, because as I say, it's been so hard for us to even watch it. So
no, sure. So let's just start in chronological order. So let's go Biol. He's sort of grown actually as the 3 games have gone on. He looks very accomplished with his feet. When he played against Paderborn yesterday, he was probably one of the standout players actually. He was a bit quiet in the first 2 games, but that was probably not of his own doing. That's probably just how the flow of the game was, to be honest. But yeah, he showed his aerial presence. He got up and won a few headers yesterday. Under pressure, he seems okay. There's still a few loose passes here and there, but again, he's probably just getting used to the system, like everybody is, to be honest. And he looks like a sturdy signing. There's no doubt he will be the central partner with Joe Rodon next season. So I think he's starting to grow as well in confidence in terms of like communication as well. So that was good to see. Who else? Stack. Let's say Stack, just easy in my mind, because he made his debut yesterday and he looked really decent as well. Again, we've got to caveat all this by saying it's against lesser opposition, but like I was saying earlier, he was dropping deep and going forward. We spoke to him afterwards actually, and the manager's also said this as well, that he can actually take a mean set piece as well, because when he was younger he was a bit smaller and a bit more skinnier, and so he was always put on set pieces. So he can whip in a good ball, although really you want him in the box, being 6'4" really.
Leads that situation, isn't it? Sign a set piece specialist, but he's 6.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Daniel joked with us afterwards. He's saying, it was a bit hard to get him to take the set piece, then get him in the box to head the ball that he should take.
Just hang it up in the air, it'll be fine.
Exactly. But no, he because I asked him actually yesterday when we had a chat, because everyone will look at him and draw their own conclusions and say, look, he's a big tall lad. He's strong and he wins headers. But I said, what about your technical side of the game? And he says he believes he's got good technical ability as well. And we saw that for his assist yesterday. So he was bursting into the area after Joe Rodon won the ball. He cut the ball back, like sort of reversed it back to Peru, who slammed it in the net. And it was a really good vision, really good pass, really good sort of anticipation for that. So he's got a bit about him. So that's promising to see. Who else? Nemecha.
Goodmanson, Longstaff.
Yeah. So Goodmanson, he looks decent as well. He's very encouraging. He did get caught out a few times yesterday, but that was again, I think, just due to the system. Against Manchester United and against FC Verl, he was very good, solid, and always looked to go forward. He's got Junior Firpo vibes, but not as extreme. He's a bit more reserved than that. So yeah, he'll be a nifty sign at left back. I think from what I've seen so far, would be slightly worried if he came up a bit against a big, massive sort of pacey, like rapid winger. But I think he might make up for that in positioning, and he'll have to make up with positioning as well, because sometimes when he went forward, and this was the same on the other flank as well, so it wasn't just him, I will say, when he went forward he left gaps at the back when the opposition counter-attacked and they went down the flank. So that's what they've just got to watch out for. But yeah, promising early signs. Sean Longstaff, very much just still getting used to it. Hasn't done anything wrong, but you can just tell he's just still getting used to everything that the manager wants. Yesterday he was always looking forward, which was really good. He wasn't like playing back or reserved. He was covering a good bit of ground as well. So good early start, but he's still a bit rusty, trying to get used to things. But that's totally understandable. And Nemecha, yeah, he is exactly what everyone sees on the tin. Basically, a big striker, brings the ball down and can do it well. Can hold the ball up, can do it well. The only problem is sometimes is when when a defender backs into him and he goes down holding his back. You do think, oh no, is that like a long-term injury? But every time he's come back up and he's been all right. But he does have a tendency to sort of go to ground a little bit easy, really. So he'll probably have to just work on that a little bit. I'm not saying he's not strong; he is strong. But he just, like in the Premier League, if you go down that easy, you're not going to get a free kick. Basically, he's going to have to learn that. But it was very positive yesterday. Actually, he deserved his goal. It was only a tap in that he got, but everything else he did, he showed his strength when he was running, holding off the defender when he was going through, and managed to get a shot off. For his goal that he tapped in, he actually won the free kick by taking on the defender, knocking him round, and the defender took him out. Again, he was on the floor for a few seconds, and everyone was a bit worried, but he was all right. Yeah, so I think so far it's been a good start. I'm not going to get overexcited and say, it's been absolutely terrific. But at the same time, it hasn't been dreadful either, which is also good. So, good stuff. But I think probably the next two games we'll probably see more of their mettle, really.
Yeah, it's good to know. And if anyone's got any questions, by the way, just pop them in the chat and we'll bring them up on screen. There's a bit of a delay, so I'll ask you that now and we'll pull them up shortly. But yeah, you mentioned Nemecha and obviously we're going to draw comparisons to someone like Bamford and the current situation with Mateo Joseph being not wanting to go basically, and it sounds like he's trying to look for a move away from the club. Do you think that affects Bamford's future at all? What's the kind of narrative and feeling around that? Because I guess before we went over to Germany, it was very much Bamford's not part of my plans, but now Mateo Joseph has that stance. Does it change things really?
I doubt it, because when Farke makes a decision, he usually stands by it. There's a difference between going out on loan and then coming and being welcomed back. If it's for a year, maybe 2 years. He might be welcome back, but if he actually actively decides that you're not part of his plans, I don't really see that reversing. I did ask him, after the Mateo Joseph, he explained about Mateo Joseph. I said, I asked him, does this speed up the urgency or change any plans with your striker? We get a new striker, and he said, no, it's all part of the, it's part of the plan. And what Joseph said doesn't actually change what we're trying to do, which sort of signifies that where Joseph was in the pecking order anyway. But also seems to me that he would be fine going into the new season with 3 strikers rather than 4. And obviously, if you get another one in, then you've got 3 strikers. So, and I think that's enough. I don't think you need 4 really. It would, if Bamford was part of his plans, he would have only been a 4th choice. And I think Daniel values Patrick as a person so much that he was like, at your age, you probably need to get as much minutes as you can, and you're not going to get them here, unfortunately. So I don't see that changing. Look, things, stranger things have happened, and it could do if push comes to shove. And at the end of the day, it won't be easy to offload Bamford because he's on a big contract, and he's not going to get that anywhere else. But does he strike me as the type of person to sit on a contract like that? Don't know. Not really, but let's see with that one. But I can't really see him being welcomed back into the plans unless something drastic happens, really.
What about Harry Gray then? Because he has been getting some game time. Got a lovely assist actually, Pablo-esque, I thought. So yeah, I mean, do you think there's a chance for him to, maybe be the 3rd choice or at least get some minutes this season? He seems to be a bit more part of the squad than he was beginning of last season.
I think in all honesty, it'll be incredibly hard for him to get Premier League minutes, if I'm being honest. Whether he gets stuff in the cup, maybe, or if he gets like one at the end of, maybe towards the end of the Premier League season, like a few appearances, maybe. We've got to remember he's 16. He's 16 years old. I mean, he's got some tremendous talent, but you can also, whilst he is a fantastic prospect and he's clearly got talent, you can tell he is 16 as well, if that makes sense. He's quite raw. Unafraid of anything, which is great, but also he's still got a few things to learn as well. I don't think he'll go out on loan anywhere because, again, I think he's just too young, and actually I think he'll benefit more from being in house and being around sort of your first team, sort of big strikers. So yeah, maybe there's a glimpse of him with competitions, but the club are very, very, very keen to not hype him up too much and put any pressure on him just because of his surname and obviously what he's shown so far. I mean, when we speak to club staff, everyone says he's a great kid, but he's also like, as any TJ, he's a teenager, you know what I mean? And so we have to be very, very careful with that. So yeah, he's got plenty of time.
I think that Johnny Howson's signing and being close, very close, or within the under-21s is really good for players like Harry Gray, where in previous seasons they've heavily spent and bought into what was kind of the reserves or under-23s, but they haven't really done that this time around because they need to focus everything on the first team. So actually having someone like Johnny Howson who can teach players like Harry Gray through osmosis is brilliant. I think having a really good pro in there with them all is a big thing. I think obviously as fans we emotionally love that, but I think there's real practical reasons for it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's actually, ironically, one of the signings of the summer. Actually, in terms of development, especially in the youth system. Anyway, and by the way, the academy have managed to nab a few people from few players from other academies that look quite good. So that's been good for them. But yeah, definitely, I think having that presence there, that respected club figure, and someone of his experience can only benefit Harry and everyone else as well.
It's great to have Johnny Howson back at the club. I mean, he's a guy who should never have been allowed to leave Leeds. If we could have in any way matched his ambition in any way, shape or form, I'm sure he'd have been another Gary Kelly who would have never left. So, yeah, it only shows, the fact that he finished his contract at Middlesbrough and came back to Leeds the next day was just incredible. In terms of those academy players, though, I know there's a few people who are interested in this. Usually, there's talk amongst yourselves and the coaches. And the coaches might say to you, watch out for this one in particular. He might be good. Has anyone kind of bent your ear with regards to any of those youth players coming in that we should keep an eye on?
Not as such, but what I would say is Rory Mahadi's over here, or was over here, should I say, the young goalkeeper. I asked Alex Cairns, I said, what's he been like? He said, top character, really, really sort of up for it. And it's been a good experience for him. And now he hasn't got on the pitch for any minutes, but that doesn't matter. That's not the point of him being on tour. The point of him being on tour is to be around, be around the squad, and also act as the fourth goalkeeper in training as well when they need to play 2 games of exercise as well. So, but anyway, yeah, he looks like a decent guy, a decent keeper. I haven't heard anything else through the grapevine really. I know there's Harvey Vincent as well, who's there. But I think it's very much, it's important for the club know the importance, and I think Daniel does as well, of making sure there is a pathway from the academy to the first team. But in the same breath as well, they don't want to put too much pressure on anyone, which I totally understand as well, especially with what happened with Archie. We all know he was a fantastic player and brilliant, and he deserved his move to Tottenham, even if he was sorry to see him go. But also he was, they managed him carefully as well, and so that's exactly the same of what they'll do with everyone else who comes through Thorpe Arch. So yeah, it's good times, I think.
We were all questioning I guess the whole recruitment structure, questioning it in a way of fans were allowed to question whatever we want, I suppose, but questioning it in a way that is, are we sure this is going to work? Like, is Adam Underwood his first kind of real stint as sporting director and looking after recruitment in such a critical time for the club going into the Premier League? And what do you think as how signings have gone so far? We're obviously going to get into Paixao. I know there's people here, so we can kind of segue into that as part of this. But Adam Underwood, how do you think it's gone so far in terms of the transfer window for Leeds?
I think it's been brilliant. I mean, you look at it; they've had 7 signings in, and they've got 3 weeks, full 3 weeks before the start of the season, more than a month before before the transfer window closes. I don't think you can have too much to complain about, really, if I'm being honest. For someone in the role for the first season, and as well, we've also got to mention Robbie Evans, who's the new managing director as well, who's also in the role for the first time. So this new regime, this new recruitment regime, is very much their debut summer. And Daniel Farker described it as, he jokes with him like you jumping into the water with the shark-infested water in the Premier League is your first time, and it's like, wow, and so they're having to really go for it. But no, it's the communication between Underwood and Farker, we know, is fantastic and excellent and daily. Underwood was over here for a little bit to help with transfers, or for quite a bit of it. Evans was also over here yesterday, although he had to rush off after full time for reasons unknown, to be honest. So these are really, really busy guys who are pleased with the work they've done so far, but also know that there's a lot more that they need to do before they call sort of time on the summer recruitment as well. So I think you've got to say it's a fantastic start from them, all things considered. I know there was a bit of disgruntlement about missing out on Diarra, but I think when you compare Sunderland's sort of intake to Leeds' intake right now, I don't think there's any competition. I think Leeds' intake is much more exciting, and the fact they've got them in ahead of time as well means they can bed in, and that's really important, and get used to it. All these teething problems that are happening now, that's why they've been brought in early, because they can iron out these teething problems basically. It's not done, but I think you've got to say most of the targets who they've been targeted, they're brought in, and we'll see how successful the signings are, because ultimately how they play and how they get on, that's what Underwood will be judged on, of course. But as of now, pretty good, I'd say. Yeah.
Go on, Rocco. You look like you're going to say something.
Just want to know about this Brazilian winger. What's he all about? When's he signing?
Finally, 39 minutes in, and we finally got to the question we're all dying to ask.
The stream goes down.
We've all been patiently waiting for that question.
Yeah. When it's come, this broke the internet. Okay, so there's a lot of noise going around, isn't there? And he's the guy that that fans are very excited about, so to speak.
Have you learned how to say his name yet? Do we know it? Is it Igor Paixao?
To be honest, I don't think anybody knows at this stage. I'm going to be absolutely honest. I've said Paixao. Some people said Paixao. I'm going to say Paixao because it sounds a bit more sexier, I think.
Joe Wayman's been calling him Paixao. I don't know where he's getting the M from.
Maybe it's Paixao, yeah, maybe. Anyway, so what we know is that Leeds have put in a bid of 26.2 million. Now, there has been obviously reports that there's been a bit of back and forth with that. The very least that we know, put it this way, is that they're in for Paixao. As of this morning, I know for a fact that a deal was not sealed. So anywhere that you've seen that a deal has been agreed, that's not true at the moment. Whether things can advance quickly, as we all know, as we've seen with the Perri deal, it can advance really quickly. So what I say right now, by this time tomorrow, could be a different picture. It's just an ever-changing beast. What we do know is what I reported at the start of last month. Paixao is open to a move to Leeds with the right deal. I think it's important just to say that, with the right deal. From Leeds' point of view, they still see him as a gettable target, obviously, otherwise they want to put a bid in. They like his character a lot. They think he and his inner circle they're really impressed by that. And if they get him, I think they will be like quietly giving themselves a pat on the back, because he is a very good talent. He can also take a set piece, and I asked Daniel Farke yesterday, I said, when you're looking in the market, are you looking for a set piece taker? And he said, well, primarily they've got to be a good footballer, not just a set piece taker. But he said, of course, we're looking for someone like that, or who's got those skills in the market. So as of Marseille, well, put it this way, I think there's a quiet confidence within the club, but they're not getting carried away with themselves. The feeling is that Marseille cannot match what Feyenoord want. Basically, I think Marseille have only spent 30 million on 2 players in their history or over, maybe something like that. It's only a small amount, and so there's a feeling that Marseille might not be able to meet things at their end. The reports that came out that said he was close to a deal appears to have come from French quarters. I'll leave everyone else to draw their own conclusions of what the purpose of that might have been. But the door is still open. Leeds feel quietly confident without getting too far ahead of themselves. They've obviously put a bid in, and Paixao, with the right deal, is open to a move. So let's see. Like I said, it's a very, very quickly changing beast, the transfer market. What's true today can change tomorrow, and the pitch can totally change. But as of now, the bottom line is nothing has been agreed at the moment. If you believe what the rumour mill says, it seems like Leeds are on a positive footing. But yeah, definitely not one to rule out, put it that way.
Is it true that they're looking for a 30% sell-on clause? I read that somewhere.
To be honest, I'm not privy to that. I don't know, but it won't surprise me. And also, obviously, Feyenoord don't really want to let him go, ideally. But the noises that are coming out from that side is that Paixao is sort of looking to move. Otherwise, there won't be so much for Furore. And obviously, as well, he's been liking a few Marseille posts as well. So I'm not sure what that's about.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, when a player's injured at this time of season, because you could quickly, you don't have the argument of, well, if we don't get an agreement, we're going to move on to the next player that we want. But actually, they want him, and he could be injured for another month or so. So it's not imperative that we get him in the door right now anyway. So I find that adds to the mix quite interestingly. And also, what would we do if it isn't Paixao as well? Are there other backups that they've talked about or that are known about, should I say?
Well, they've got alternatives on the list. Who they are, I don't know. But the sort of stance on that is, whilst, like I say, they are quietly confident. If they don't, they're not getting ahead of themselves, because if they don't get him, then they have got other options they can turn to and look for. So if Paixao doesn't come off, I know there'll be a little bit of meltdown online. But
little,
yeah, a little bit. It might just be a little bit. It's definitely not the end of the story. And again, I've said this before, but if you think back to last summer, Tanaka was a late window signing. He wasn't the first choice that they were after, and look where he turned out to be. That's my sort of voice of reason I'm trying to project if it doesn't come off. But let's see, man.
You'd imagine it'd be Man O'Sullivan would be the next one up if it's not Paixao. You'd have to imagine we'd have to go back in for him, the ready-made player who can slot straight into the system. But just a few kind of pieces on Paixao. So one, obviously, Marseille have put in a final bid, I think, tonight. I think there's rumours that they've tried to do that. And then obviously there's a question around Paixao's preference being Marseille over Leeds. And then the last question I have for you, Isaac, is obviously we've put in a bid. Has it been rejected? Do we need to go back in a second one, or is it still on the table? So sorry, 3 questions for you there.
So on the last one, we haven't had any concrete soundings that anything has sort of broke through the barrier in the sense of a deal is advancing at this stage. So whether they've had a big knockback and they negotiate. The thing is, with these type of things, sometimes we see this sort of what's the phrase, like analog, like you say a bid, no, they rejected, they've come back, more with the bid. When in reality, it's just an ongoing discussion, really, in the actual sense. So things will, like with the Longstaff. The Longstaff's a good example. So we had 3 bids rejected, but that it wasn't like Leeds went, here you go, and then Newcastle went no, then Leeds went, here you go. It was an ongoing discussion between the two. So they might have tabled a second bid, but the underlying thing I think to take out of it is they're still in talks, and that can only be a good thing. Whether another bid's gone in or not, the final bid possibly, and I won't be surprised if it has. We'll see what. So
what you're saying, Isaac, is it's not dead in the water, because last time you said it's not dead in the water was Sean Longstaff, and we got him. So that's the Isaac Smith version of here we go. It's not dead in the water.
As of
Isaac Johnson, sorry.
as of 7 minutes to 9 on this Sunday night, no, definitely it's not dead in the water at this stage. What were the other 2 questions? Sorry, one was on preference.
His preference. Rumor is that Paixao's preference is Marseille.
I won't be able to give a concrete steer on that. Only the player himself will know that. He's definitely open to Leeds. He's open to the Premier League, and obviously Marseille are there. He's been liking Marseille posts as well. I don't know. I don't know. We'll ultimately see. So a player might have a preference between 2 clubs. It doesn't mean they'll end up there, because sometimes the club that he prefers won't pay what the club want, and that's it at the end of the day. And it doesn't mean that the player doesn't like Club B. It just means they preferred Club A, but actually they're okay with Club B. And what was the other question?
Marseille put in a final, what looks like a final bid this evening.
Oh right, okay. Yeah. Well, again, given that the rumours emanated from French quarters last time about a deal being close, I'm very hesitant to see what's coming out of France at the moment. However, if it is L'Equipe, I think, that have said this, obviously it's a bit more reliable, so that's possible. At the moment, we'll have to wait and see, because as of this morning, a deal hadn't been agreed, and maybe Marseille in that time have come back in. We'll see. We don't know. I think the important thing to sort of underline, like we've said, is that it's definitely not off the table at the moment that he moves to Leeds. So yeah, let's see.
The injury situation, it is interesting because it does give everyone a bit of time. So I don't know. It feels like the longer it drags on, the less chance we have. Like, I feel like we have to do a bit of a Sunderland really, and just blow it out the water. Just give them what they want if we want to do it now. Otherwise, towards the end of the window, you don't know who's going to start getting involved. At the moment we're talking about Marseille and have they got the money? But then there might be other Premier League teams. By the end of the window, Bournemouth lose a winger or whatever. God, Bournemouth. But anyway, you know what I mean. Plenty of other clubs could come in when he's coming closer to fitness. The deadline's coming up, so it feels like he just wants to keep his options open. But I don't know. I just want us to somehow just get it done.
It's amazing how we're all having such a meltdown about Paixao, who I guarantee none of us ever heard of. 6 weeks ago. I know I didn't anyway.
No, well, he's put it this way. Like I said before, if Leeds do get him, then the recruitment team would see it as a good capture, very good capture, and he's. You have to look at some of the clips that have been going around on YouTube or social media, and he's a definite talent. I'm looking at my phone now to see if I've got any. I haven't got any updates at the moment, but it's just like I said with Perry and with Longstaff, things move extremely quickly in this window. So let's see. Yeah, let's see with that. Sorry, I can't offer any more at the moment, but
no, it's just good to talk about it. Yeah. I think everyone's just driving themselves insane with it, talking about it in their own circles. So it's just good to get a bit of insight on what's happening. And like we say, we're a weird bunch of football fans, aren't we? Because most people hadn't heard of him a week ago, and now everyone feels like they're going to have some sort of physical meltdown if we don't get him. That's just the nature of being a football fan, I think. So
yeah. I understand. Because when you have your heart set on a player, you want him to come, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily the right one. I mean, he looks like he will be, but yeah. Interesting.
We'll see how it plays out. But maybe is there any more Leeds related questions? Because if not, we're gonna let Isaac go.
I have a couple. Probably easy ones. No, I've only got 3.
You're right.
Easy ones for you. Probably myth busting for you, because obviously Farke's come out and said he's done with his midfield. He's happy with them.
Yes.
And then over the last 2 days, we've been once again linked with Gus Hamer, and for the first time linked with a bizarre one with Frank Kessié. Would you like to blow those two out of the water?
Well, the centre midfielders have Farke has very clearly said the centre midfield reinforcement is done. So unless someone gets a freak injury, unless someone hands in a random transfer request, there's no more midfielders are going to come in, no more centre backs that are going to come in, no more goalkeepers that are going to come in. So those 3 positions are done basically.
Would that include Hamer though? Would Hamer be attacking midfielder?
Yeah, well, if he sees him as a number 10, possibly.
Yeah.
I think Leeds have probably got more pressing areas at the moment before they go in. I think obviously they need a new striker and they need another winger. I think a new fullback will be nice, and I think a new number 10 will be nice. But there's only so much money within FFP that can be spent. And Leeds have only sold 1 player at the moment, and that's Rasmus Christensen. So what we do know is that in terms of sales, by the way, that they are thinking that they can always sell players after the end of the season before June the 30th, which is when the new cycle starts, which is fine, which is a definite possibility. Personally,
sell Paixao next summer then.
Maybe when he's recovered from his injury, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. That's sort of state of play in terms of recruitment. And when it comes to sales, that I won't worry too much if they don't offload a load of people before the end of the summer. There will be a few that go, obviously, but there's still time to balance the books.
Last one then will be Ramazani. So people are talking about Ramazani going on loan. To me, that's got to be nonsense. Surely we're not even considering loaning out Ramazani. I imagine a few clubs have probably approached him and asked him would he be interested, but surely Leeds wouldn't want to loan out Ramazani.
I would be surprised because obviously Harrison's future is not secure, even though he's very much open. Like Farker's very much open to keeping him. He has had a few clubs that it appears anyway that he's had a few clubs that have approached him for loans and he's knocked them back. Again, I spoke to him in an interview actually earlier this week, and he was ready to go for the Premier League. I think on the big stage, Ramazani is someone who feels like he will thrive there. It seems like he will want to make. It's the biggest stage, and he likes to put on a show, doesn't he? So I think that he'll want to stay, and unless he's been told you're going to get like very, very slim minutes, I'd be surprised if he does go. I'm not ruling it out, obviously, but yeah, I'd be surprised if he does leave, given the left wing options that we've got. Although Nonto, when he played on the left the other day, actually was really decent. So maybe there is a bit of room there. But I'm just surmising now. I'm just trying to think. But yeah, I'll be surprised if he goes. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, yeah, thanks ever so much for joining us, Isaac, as always. And for anyone who hasn't read any of Isaac's stuff, why not? First of all, and but there is a link in the description below. And Isaac, you're also on Twitter. I know you're on Blue Sky, but you tend to post more on Twitter. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. Twitter is my main one, really. Blue
X.
Sky, our X, that's the one. Yeah. So yeah, I'm on at Isaac Johnson LL. If anyone wants to look at me there, or just type in Leeds Live into Google and it will come. Actually, I recommend downloading the app. Download the Leeds Live app.
Yep.
Much nicer reading experience as well. For those who are frustrated by the ads. Yeah, and that you can see on my work. I've done a tour diary for this week, so if you want to go back and have a look at a few things from this week, you can. Interviewed Lodge Ramazani, Alex Cairns, Anton Stack, Sam Byram, and Dan James and Joe Rodon. So if you want to have a look at any of what they've said, just go on my profile, click on it, and you'll be able to see what they say. Including on my Twitter feed as well. And yeah, join us on the ride. It's going to be very exciting.
It is a ride. I want to actually leave this with a bit of a Liverpool question. Isaac or Isaac? Is he going to be a Liverpool player?
Oh, wow. It seems like he wants to leave Newcastle, and there seems to be only one destination he can probably go to. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, it'd be a tasty scenario. And obviously, well, not obviously, but Luis Diaz seems to be off to Bayern, which means there's a little bit more spending scope. So, yeah, maybe. I mean, that would be nice. It would be nice, but either way, I think we'll be fine if we don't. But yeah, that'd be what signing that would be. Yeah,
bit of an upgrade on Nunes.
He's not getting past Joe Rodon anyway, lads, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
There you go.
I'm serious.
Although
good stuff. Well,
there is actually just quickly, if Isaac doesn't go before deadline day, and he does get a move to Liverpool late on in the window, and he is still playing for Eddie Howe's still picking him, there is a chance he could play at Elland Road twice next season, because obviously Newcastle come to Elland Road in the third fixture later on, so he might get double off him at Elland Road.
Joe Rodon shunning him to one side a few times. Good stuff. But yeah, Isaac, thanks ever so much for coming on. It's really appreciated. Dara, you need me to say hit the like button, hit subscribe, and all that stuff, don't you?
Yeah, especially after this episode. I mean, we have to get Isaac out. He's had full access to the players all week. If you're not going to hit subscribe now, when are you going to hit subscribe? I mean, seriously. And hit like and comment and hit the notification bell. Please.
There you go. You're way better than I am at this. But yeah, thanks ever so much, Isaac, and thanks everyone, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers.
Thank you all.